Morning, everyone. On behalf of Team Gupshop, would like to welcome all of you to Elets sixth BFSI CTO Virtual Summit. This 2 days of summit will underline the rising transformative significance of technology in the BFSI sector. I believe that the summit will help you gain insights on disruption and new age transition. So to begin with, I would like to welcome industry leader Mr. Beerud, Sheth, CEO, co-founder Gupshup, to give the welcome note, and also to invite the guest of honor for today's conference, Dr. Amitabh Rajan, Chairman, Reserve Bank of India Services Board. Just to give you a brief about Mr. Beerud Sheth, he is the co-founder and CEO of Gupshop, the global leader in cloud messaging and conversational experiences. He previously founded and led Elets, and now it is Upwork, publicly listed company, the pioneer of online freelancing and the gig economy. And also to give you a brief intro about Dr. Amitabh Rajan, he holds a PhD in sociological jurisprudence from JNU and is an author. Currently, he serves as the chairman of Reserve Bank of India Services Board. During the past 4 decades, he served in Indian Administrative Service from 1979 to 2014, where he has led large organizations, namely institutions of foreign trade, financial services, power sector regulations, public investment, uh, internal security, and vigilance. So let me welcome Mr. Beerud Sheth to give the welcome note, and also to invite the Dr. Amitabh Rajan for the guest of honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. Hello, everyone. On behalf of Team Gupshop, I would like to welcome all of you to the Elets 6th BFSI CTO Virtual Summit. The 2-day summit will underline the rising transformative significance of technology in the BFSI sector. I believe that the summit will help you gain insights on disruption and new age transitions. We at Gupshup are thrilled to support this event and to be a part of this session. Um, Let me try and give you a quick intro to Gupshup and some of the technological innovation that's happening in India, focused on the BFSI sector. Right? If you've noticed, we've also been in the news very recently. We just completed our acquisition of Nolarity, the leading voice, cloud telephony player in India. And before that, we were in the news for having done a big funding round as well, right? So Gupshup has been in the news a lot recently, and that's because there's a lot of interest in the space that we operate in, right? So what exactly does Gupshup do, and how does it impact all of you? I think Gupshup is we are focused on conversational engagement, which transforms the way businesses engage with consumers, right? So all banks and financial service and insurance companies typically have really large consumer bases, and you interact with all of them, you engage them, communicate with them all the time, right? And that happens across the entire life cycle. In the beginning, you're trying to market and acquire customers. In the middle, then it's the commerce stage where you're trying to get transactions done, check up balances, do transfers, make payments, do transactions, and so on. And then finally, there's the support, right? Customer support, refunds, cancellations, trial, any queries that need to be addressed, and so on. So there's customer interactions happening at every stage of the customer life cycle. And if you think about it, traditionally, these interactions have been happening on different channels. It could happen through a website, right? E-banking has been popular. Online banking has been popular, for a while. But India and countries like India sort of, are very mobile centric, right? People love their smartphones. People are spending a lot of time on their mobile devices, and therefore they like to transact through mobile devices. Well, therefore, many of you have built out apps to interact with consumers, and apps are convenient, and they're a little better than having a website on the mobile device. But even those, right? Many consumers don't download apps, or if they do, they don't They're not active in it. They don't use it often enough, and so on. So we are seeing a lot of trend where a lot of these interactions are moving from either website or apps to messaging based experiences, and especially conversational experiences. So traditionally, when you think about it, messaging experiences were very simple experiences, right? You send out an SMS every time somebody swipes a credit card. There's an SMS that goes out saying, "Hey, you spent 100 rupees at the cafe." If there's an account balance, if there's a wire transfer, if there's a payment, if there's a bill payment due, uh, all of those reminders go out as traditional SMS messages. And these were, very simple. Traditionally, SMS is very simple. It's 160 characters of plain text, and it's only one-way notification. But there's a lot of change happening in the messaging industry right now that I think you should all be aware of. And the world is now moving to what's called conversational messaging, right? And that's because there are newer channels that are emerging, such as WhatsApp, right? Such as RCS, such as Instagram, and even Gupshup has launched something we call GIP, right? GIP. And these are different messaging channels that are in many ways much better than SMS, because they allow the bank or BFSI organizations to send rich messages. It could be images, it could be buttons, it could be interactive elements. And most importantly, it allows two-way conversations, which means the consumer can reply and act on that message. So when they get a bill payment message, the consumer could quickly pay the bill by clicking a button. Or if they get a message about that credit card transaction, they could click on another button and see the details about the transaction, or see their history of transactions, or maybe they can check their available credit limit, right? Or if they have if they get a loan offer or a promotion, they can instantly submit some details and get pre-qualified for the loan, right? And so on. So it opens up a whole lot of possibilities. And this idea of being able to have this two-way conversation with consumers is what's called as conversational engagement. So if you think of it from the consumer point of view, they are able to chat, with banks and financial service organizations just as easily as chatting with friends and family. And this is something everybody knows how to do, right? I mean, Indian consumers spend an insane amount of time on WhatsApp, on other channels, chatting with their friends and family, sometimes as much as 50 or 100 times a day. So they never miss those messages. They use them, they're constantly chatting and talking. And if you can simulate that same experience interacting with BFSI organizations, suddenly it makes the whole experience easier. It's certainly a lot better than using a website, using a mobile app. It's just a lot easier if you can do it entirely through a conversational messaging experience like WhatsApp or other channels, right? In fact, the way to think about it is, it's as if the bank is providing a personal relationship manager to every consumer, right? And it's not just any personal relationship manager. It's a special one. It is the most knowledgeable relationship manager, because they know about every product offered by that bank or financial service organization. They can handle any kind of queries, right? They're available 24/7. They're always accessible. Weekends, late nights, doesn't matter. You send a message, you get back a response, right? As if there is somebody out there sitting and responding to these queries. In addition to that, the relationship manager can enable a highly personalized experience. For example, the relationship manager knows, right, that you have a loan outstanding, or you have a mortgage outstanding, or you have kids, who are going to school. They're teenagers, and they can offer you personalized products or offers that are relevant to you, that may be different from some other customer, right? Or they already know who you are and your details. So, so when the consumer says, "What's the balance in my account?" The relationship manager already knows what account they are referring to. Is it the mortgage account? Is it the loan account? Is it a banking account and so on, because they have the history, they have a full understanding of the customer, right? And then think about the relationship manager who can handle fully secure and private interactions that maintain data security, data privacy. It isn't shared with anyone, doesn't go to anybody whatsoever. In addition to that, it's a relationship manager that's available on any channel, available on WhatsApp, on RCS, on Instagram, on GIP, and so on. It's available, through whatever is convenient for the consumer, right? And then, like I mentioned at the beginning, they're available at every stage of the life cycle, whether it's the marketing stage, or the commerce stage, or the customer support stage, on the front end, the middle, or the back end of the life cycle. So in that sense, it really transforms the entire business to consumer interaction. Every customer touch point is fully transformed by these conversational experiences. So anyway, we are seeing a lot of interest in these capabilities. We've been working with lots and all the major banks and financial service and insurance companies. A lot of fintech companies are using it. One fintech company has reduced lending for two-wheelers from like a 3-day cycle down to literally a 3-minute cycle because of these conversational experiences. They've been able to go from a few dozen outlets where they have people in those locations to actually being able to support virtually hundreds of outlets around the country. Fintech and banking companies have been able to do KYCs just very easily through WhatsApp and other experiences. So this is really, taking the banking industry by storm, the financial service industry, really transforming every B2C interaction and making it as simple as just chatting through WhatsApp as if you're chatting with a friend or family member, right? So I think this is really transformative. We are super excited. And by the way, traditionally we were doing this all entirely on messaging. Everything I've talked about is messaging. But with this acquisition of Knowlarity, we will also be able to enable it on voice, which is a new area of growth and opportunity, where imagine if a customer can call on voice and get it resolved very quickly without having to wait for a long time, or get punted from one department to another and so on. So anyway, lots of exciting things that we are working on. But this whole area of conversational engagement is very impactful for businesses and banking and BFSI organizations. So once again, we are very excited at Gupshup to be here at this event, to support this event. Super excited to be innovating new products and services. And now I would like to sort of welcome our guest of honor for today's conference, Dr. Amitabh Rajan, Chairman of the Reserve Bank of India Services Board. And I'd love for you to share your thoughts as well.
I'm grateful for the honor which has been given to me to address you. This is my favorite topic, about which I have been speaking since the year 2012. I recall that the first global UN sponsored program was in Indonesia, Bali. It was on fintech, and the topic was future of fintech. Since then, the whole world has been about the finance and also about the opportunities which the fourth industrial revolution has given to us. Today, and this year in particular, is important not only for India, it is globally important because the cumulative learning from the global discourse ultimately is going to reach the ethics of discourse across nations. We can see this with two incidents which have very recently taken place. One is the budget decision of the government of India to explore with positivity the fructification of digital currencies. And more recently, only a few days back, the US government also has taken a similar line, similar approach towards their currency. And of course, when the US works, it will have a big impact. Therefore, the organizers of this conference suggested to me to be India specific, because globally we can always summarize what others have said or what has emerged as a consensus. But about India, also things have to be asserted with concerns of sovereignty in view. India is not a minor country. Institutions are also molding. Therefore, can we have a vision for the year 2022 for India? You may ask immediately, why am I talking about a particular year? And I'll explain in my 4-point presentation that it is important. It is important because questions mostly have been answered. Yes, they have been answered. Only thing is how people take it. And the need to coherently do things globally have also worked out. So, a lot of hope at the meta policy level, meta policy, not policy of a company, not policy of a sector, not policy of an institution or a promoter, but the policy of the nation as a whole and G20 as a whole, that has to come up, and it is possible. Let me be specific because the time is limited, and I'll confine myself for the sake of simplicity to 4 questions. These questions on India to make things better in terms of coherence, in terms of congregation of interests, and ultimately, they are going to be 4, as I said. Why do we talk of BFSI as an integrated whole? Like for example, we know that entrepreneurial energy is tremendous. The business response is also C because they are prospects. But instead of talking the whole country, whole economy, why are we, this is the topic of this discussion, concentrating on banking, financial services, and insurance? There are 2 reasons for it. One is that the struggle which entrepreneurs in India have taken to learn, adopt, and improve in the sector of banking, financial services, and industry has common interest points. And this interest points comes because of the opportunities, as I said. Therefore, when you want to have a national policy, not government policy only, national policy towards the 4th industrial revolution, national policy towards the sector, which I mentioned, the BFSI, then a integrity of concept is there already. Therefore, global thinking also is on that. So first need to have an integrated vision of the sector, BFSI, is on that count. On the count that ultimately we ought to think together, not only think, we have thought enough, we should act in cohesion. There is a second reason. That is from the government point of view. The latest researches around 2015 and so on in the field of economic theory and political science have told us that not only entrepreneurs have to be heard, the state being itself entrepreneurial. So the concept globally very, very agreed is of entrepreneurial state, and there's enough literature for you to look into and understand its ramification. Second question. What does society expect from the state and markets? You know, in the labs, in the board of directors meeting, in fora, in regulatory meetings, you can think, decide, arrive at, and therefore expectations of the society, expectations which are legitimate, aspirations which are democratic, they have to be heard, without which nothing can happen. So discourse ethic, of course, is required, which is there already, but the question is four expectations again from these discourses, which I don't find. The public sphere in the field I'm talking about is contaminated by certain things, propaganda, vendor-driven approaches, which ultimately makes everyone to think on the four interests on which there shall not be a compromise. First of all, consumer protection. Consumer has to be protected and consumers have to be facilitated, and entire wisdom which we acquire should focus on the consumer. This is the learning of the management theory on technology, on enterprises, and on teamwork, cohesive teamwork, strategic teamwork together. Second, society expects, society not only of India, everywhere, it's in public interest to focus on firm level integrity. You know, when we grew up, at least when I grew up in 90s and later, so integrity became a very important concept. And luckily, since 2008, a lot of thought has been given to it on firm level integrity with regard to transparency, fairness, not only within the firm, but also among the stakeholders of the company. Third, there has to be fair competition, a point which is usually forgotten. In the race for profiteering, society is of the opinion that we can't forget that we will grow only when the competition is fair. In policy literature, it is mentioned, but in practices, it is not followed. And those who are analyzing the track of the 9 heavy high-tech corporations in the world, they realize it. Fourth, ethical discourses are very important for business models. They are very important for operative models. When the world of business sees that there's going to be a heavy investment in a sector like BFSI. The craze is to go in for an aggressive business model floating, so that even when there are elements of failure in the tech world, a camouflage will be given of hope. This creates a problems for board level firms where money is limited, so everything cannot be purchased, and it has to be purchased with prudence, ethics of prudence. And that is a very important factor. When we consider that, we also know the sponsored research. There's a tendency to propagate entry into discourses where the truth is hidden partly. And that creates a big setback when we actually implement things. My third question is about the importance of the year 2022 in the context of the global techno-financial history. It's important from 3 points of view. One is, which you know, and it is very important to realize what the great economist Joseph Schumpeter said about the tendency of capitalism to be fragile. Capital formations are fragile by nature. So if you see a disruption or if you see a crisis, it's a part of it. And that is the greatest strength of capitalism. And therefore, Schumpeter said that a bit of coercion for creativity in policy domain is required, whether it is the policy domain of the government, regulatory agencies, or the firms themselves. This is an area of research on which number of scholars in economic theory are working today. Second is a more important thing, which are important. The whole thing of we cannot properly discuss the topic we have taken up unless we acknowledge the contribution of a great mind of the 21st century, Clayton M. Christensen. He died last year. He was a Harvard scholar, and he wrote 3 seminal books on disruptive innovation, thought on that ground. So we must understand what the dynamics is of creative destruction. And on one hand, and the dynamics of disruptive innovations within the firms. Otherwise, we'll keep investing and big companies with a new product will fail. There are learning lessons in these 3 books, but when I see generally the awareness of this is not, it is a understanding Clayton Christensen is a prerequisite for any further original thought. Last question. We talked of the 4th industrial revolution. I mean, there's enough material on that. World Economic Forum has taken it up. I have myself written a lot on it. There are others writing also. But the 4th industrial revolution, very, very important, has to be understood properly. I think time is limited, so I'll leave only 3 key points on that. First of all, we should remember that turbulence, disruptions, fusions shall be a part of life. And what we are experiencing today, or we experienced a few years back, is only a small unfolding of the fourth industrial revolution. Those who know technocracy, research, technological research, researchers in the think tanks, laboratories, understand that fourth industrial revolution has only initially unfolded it. One point. So we have to be agile as a team. We should be agile to approaches from top to bottom, not bottom to top. And we also have to be very precise in realizing that the person from technology has to be respected in the boards, heard in society, and has to be encouraged. These days are always cross-disciplinary teams. So managing these teams requires a lot of acumen and insight. Second thing is regulatory aspect of the most important challenge of the fourth revolution, which is blockchain technology. There was a very good paper in the World Economic Forum this year, which talked of positivity. It is very cruel to say that blockchain is equal to cryptocurrency. No. Blockchain is a wider ambit, and out of which solutions have also come. Those who know blockchain technology know very, very well that it is not what it was in 2008. Things have improved and there are solutions. There are solutions in the field of contract management for having a regulatory frame. There are numerous researches going on all around, and these researches are bearing fruit. Therefore, the reason for hoping better in the year 2022 is that the solutions ultimately are consolidating cumulatively to the benefit of the emancipatory interest of society. You know, in philosophy, knowledge management has been divided into 3 parts. This is Habermas' critical theory. Knowledge, first of all, is a tech knowledge. In French, they say technique. You know how to do it, how to do better, how to integrate, how to organize. This is called the technical knowledge. Nothing derogatory. It's a technique of doing things, solving problems. Second type of knowledge is self-interest driven knowledge. Propaganda, counter-propaganda, alliances, counter-alliances to prove a point which is not really in public interest, which is not only in business interest, which is not really important in various ways in the monetary system, economic system, stability, but still it is propagated as a lobby. There's nothing wrong in lobby formation. But the thing is, the persons who are handling things should also come up with their views, and society together has to assert. It will be a very bad day of technological determinism when everything is given to the bureaucrats or technocrats, and ultimately people at large, society at large, gets hindrances in terms of delays and so many things. Therefore, we require regulation. This is the message of the fourth industrial revolution, learned message of the fourth industrial revolution. Neoliberal precepts are dead. we require regulation. Now, the question only is what type of regulation. And for that, the solution is there has to be coherence in regulation. And coherence comes when autonomy is given to regulatory bodies. They are not captured either by a vested interest or by the assigning powers themselves. Wherever it is happening, for example, India, it has done so many good things which have been acknowledged in the regulatory theory thinking. Even International Monetary Fund there's a report of 2019 which talks about the things which India has done. And I have also highlighted a similar paper which is coming to you. So this regulatory strength of India, in which people are responding to regulation, is not like US classical capitalism where there are inherent educational hindrances, not like European Union where difficult to have an integrated view because there are too many countries and too many decision interests. India has the advantage of a coherence in regulatory policy through laws. You just have to see what happened post 2008 in India and how it's being crafted. Therefore, there is hope, tremendous hope. Only thing is, we should adopt the fourth industrial revolution without any further delay. Thank you.